Story Noi Con Gai Then Ran. Story of the Snake God's Daughter. To the south of Nok Stream, there is an ancient temple that collapsed and no one repaired it. Next to the temple is a large peach tree with luxuriant branches and leaves. In the temple there is a cave, a very deep cave. Below the cave there is an incredibly large cave. Snakes live for many years and can transform into human beings. The peach tree next to the shrine is long-lived and also sacred. Every year, at the end of winter and the beginning of spring, when the peach blossoms bloom, a beauty as beautiful as peach blossoms appears in the branches of the cotton tree. Every night sing in front of the temple. At the end of spring, when the flowers fade, peach blossom petals fall in the wind, that person disappears, waiting for spring to appear again next year. That place is deserted, no one visits. Some people said it was a python nest, because they vaguely saw many human skulls lying in the bushes. One day, during a thunderstorm, people encountered an unusually large snake crawling in front of the temple, or circling under a peach tree, disappearing when it stopped. From then on, they were even more afraid, and slowly walked around the temple into a small forest, without human footprints. At the end of winter, the plants sprouted, and the peach branches were dotted with young buds. When spring comes, the flowers are bright pink. One warm night, a beautiful woman appears gracefully. She started singing. The sleeping snake woke up and listened. In the clear night, thousands of stars sparkle, each breeze spreads sweet fragrance. The snake god looked at the beauty wandering around the peach branches. His heart was nervous. Then he bent his body and transformed into a handsome young man. He is an actor. The sound of the flute is in rhythm with the elegant lyrics of the beautiful woman. ... From then on, the two people got to know each other, became intimate and then became husband and wife. In the spring of that year, the peach blossoms were more splendid than any other day. At night, in the eerie sound of love between a man and a woman, the swallows shuttle and weave time quickly and smoothly. In the summer, the lovemaking stopped. Although the lady was sad about saying goodbye to him, she cheerfully expressed to him a seed of hope. Even though the snake god was worried about parting, he was secretly happy because the love affair had come to fruition. Then a ray of sunlight, a hot day, wilted the last flowers of the season. The breeze blew gently, scattering beautiful flower branches on the yellow grass banks. The lady said goodbye to the snake god and transformed into the beauty of the peach tree. The following spring, the peach blossoms bloomed very little but were rich in color. Waiting for the beauty, and, one evening in early spring she returned. Her color is less bright but profound. She gave birth to a daughter, beautiful and rosy. The snake god was overjoyed, but a sadness came from somewhere to take over his soul. In the middle of spring, while the trees were green and hundreds of flowers were reaching puberty under the warm golden light, the beautiful woman lamented to him, "I don't think our love affair will end here. I no longer live to reunite with you and raise children. Love has given me all the beauty of life. Living with him and having a child, that is a peaceful memory in our lives. He lives long because he is strength. He will stay and take care of the child. I am a very fragile beauty. Love has made me more youthful but also made me fade away quickly. Now I'm dead, but I still leave a trace of my beauty for you." He raised his child wholeheartedly, and that was the same as him confessing that he still loved his concubine. But I would like to ask you one thing. When your child grows up, you should warn him not to fall into a love affair that will shorten his life. If he wants to live forever, forever young, forever happy, he must stay away from love." Having finished speaking, she cried for a long time, gave her child to the god and then disappeared. The next day, the peach blossoms fell. The peach tree withered and died. The snake god diligently raises his children, traces of his beloved. Every day he went into the distant forest to find milk to bring back. As the days passed, she grew up. At exactly 16 years, she was more beautiful and intelligent than humans. Her beauty is the beauty of her mother in the past, but in that beauty, there is hidden my father's mystery. Her intelligence is the intelligence of a snake. Her eyes are as clear as the cloudless sky. Her look is the hypnotic look that captures the souls of people and animals left by the snake ancestors. Her mouth smiled as beautiful as peach blossoms. She walks gracefully, gracefully, and gracefully. She received all the character and beauty of her parents. When the snake god saw her child growing up and beautiful, he became worried. Every day, I told my children to play around the temple and not to go far. I fear that she will be seduced by love. I haven't dared to reveal that fear to you yet, so let me repeat the last words of this beauty to you. I also don't say anything to you that has the words love mixed in, because I know those two words have immense power. Every day she hangs around the temple, her soul is innocent and naive. Every day, the snake god tries her best to find food for her child. It's hard, but I'm still happy to see you growing up quickly and wisely. Many times I almost died with wild animals in the forest. I returned sad, my face still showing signs of fear. But when I saw her running to me happily, saying innocent words, I suddenly forgot all my worries and became happy again, playing with my children. One afternoon, it was pouring rain, and when the food arrived, I returned home. Thinking about the old days. At that time, the god was arrogant and majestic. No one dared to tarnish his name. All wild animals and people are shunned. God is very healthy and does not know what fatigue is. But from the moment of love until now, the intuition gradually fades, so that I can share it with my children. In the past, wherever I wanted to go, I just bent my body and turned into the wind to fly away. Now that spell doesn't work. God has lost his sacredness. But for every miracle lost, my son gains a virtue. Feeling that much, the god consoled himself, anyway, I will live forever, because of my child? Just like that, the days pass. Then one day, I was tired and knew I was about to die. God called the child to his side and said, "You probably don't know who I am or where your mother is. I used to be a snake, I worked very hard to train my character. After hundreds of years of hard work, his nature became spiritual and transformed into a human being. We must cultivate for hundreds of years our heart to be pure and our mind to be clear in order to surpass everyone and become a god. I wish to live forever. And ever nurturing my character, but because I love, my life must be cut short to give life to you. Your mother used to be a peach tree, together for hundreds of years containing the essence, combined since when did beauty become human? Then, because of love, I gave all my beauty to my child so that I could abandon myself. We all die for love, For our children we sacrifice all our intelligence, all our beauty. That day, when your mother was about to die, there were these last words that were also my last words. You are the result of a God's love and a wonderful beauty. You are a beauty among beauties and life, a spirit among gods. Your life will be your mother's life and mine combined. But if you want to keep your virtue intact, you must stay away from love. Your mother's example in the past and mine now are enough for you to see far. Having finished speaking, the snake god felt uneasy and struggled. A moment later, she rolled violently, transformed into a cobra and died. She mourned deeply and buried her father's body next to the peach tree. From then on she abhorred love. She didn't know what it was, but she vowed before her parents' graves that wherever she encountered love, it would be destroyed. Her beauty and intelligence captivate animals. The bees come to build nests to release honey for her. The pheasants and wild chickens lay eggs and let her catch them for meat. Such a life is easy and happy. Staying in one place, she felt frustrated and wanted to go far away, find a new scene, find every opportunity to find love to avenge her parents. She turned into an old woman with white hair and went to the capital to ask where love was. Those who heard the question smiled mockingly. They said to each other, "Even though we're so old, we're still looking for the moonflower." She saw them mocking her, thinking that love wasn't there, and she was looking for a job that didn't exist, so they laughed. She went somewhere else and changed into a handsome young man. Seeing a group of young girls chatting with each other, laughing happily, she approached and asked if they knew love. They were embarrassed, each of their cheeks were pink, they looked at each other shyly, then scattered and left her standing there. Searching in vain, she returned to her old place, and was discouraged, thinking there was no way she could find love. One afternoon, she went to the bank of the jade stream. The afternoon light shone on the stream. The cool breeze blew from time to time. She felt lightheaded. Extremely lightheadedness. A pair of birds flew side by side, flying into the distance, to the horizon, then disappeared in the mist. She felt an idle sadness, a gentle and causeless sadness that followed the wind and clouds to permeate her thoughts. From then on, she didn't go anywhere else. In the afternoon, she only went out to look at the stream water to listen. That feeling is like a lullaby, like a temptation. She didn't know what that feeling was, she felt more and more lonely, and her heart filled with longing. Sometimes she was ashamed of herself, but other times, seemingly even more daring, she expected. But she didn't know what she expected anymore. Suddenly one afternoon was almost over. The western sky is as clear as blue water, with a few pink clouds. The sun had long since disappeared, but the towering pine tops were still stained with a few golden spots of the dying day. The wind blew, the branches and leaves swayed. She watched the afternoon. Colors change on the stream like every day. Suddenly she shyly hid in a reed bush to watch. A young man led a herd of buffaloes down to the other bank to drink water. The young man peacefully stripped naked and bathed in the cool stream. He swam and played, thinking the place was deserted, no longer afraid of anything. She felt her cheeks heat up and wanted to turn away. But the guy had an attraction that made her stand still to steal a look at him. After bathing, he led the buffalo away. The scene was beautiful. He sat on the back of the buffalo and took out pepper to blow. The sound of Pepper was graceful in the quiet air. She looked at him until he disappeared behind the scenes, but his voice was still melodious in the air. Her heart was ecstatic. She cried without realizing it. From then on, like a promise with the water, every afternoon came. The boy returned to the stream to cool off. When it was still early, he sat on the green bank and took out Pepper to blow. On this side, she still listened to that magical sound that seemed to tempt her, and evoked a feeling of passion in her. Then one day she met the boy, because she felt that his voice became more passionate and attached every day. She no longer needed to hide her body. The two loved each other, but she was still naive, not knowing she was in love, only vaguely feeling that she was following some bodily stimulation. She really liked his fierce health, his ecstatic aura transmitted to her. On moonlit nights, clear as jade, he came to her, blew the flute for her, and then they both fell in love with each other. One night like that, she lay in the young man's arms, looked at him and asked, "Why are you so healthy?" The young man laughed and replied, "I am healthy because I want to live long." Then he gently lifted her face, looked into the eyes. She was half asleep and waiting. When she woke up, he was still asleep, and she felt tired and felt resentful about something. Looking back at him, she suddenly remembered the words he had uttered in a fit of affection, and thought of her father's last words. He wanted to live a long life, and her parents also wanted to live a long life. She felt weak with fatigue, the weakness caused by his strength. She was suddenly afraid that this violent force had reduced her strength. She thought about the disaster of love, and considered his power to be such a terrible love. A cloud passed by, dimming the moonlight. Darkness covered the young man's face. A haggard image appeared before her eyes. She suddenly remembered her father's death. She sat up, reached into her hair, took out a long, sharp needle left by her father, and pricked it deep into his chest. The young man howled, "What are you doing?" "I kill love." The needle transfers the snake's venom into the bloodstream. The young man's eyes sparkled, his whole body went limp. Very quietly, he told her in one breath, "No, you can kill me, not love." Her heart is not at peace. Every afternoon she still went to the stream to look for him, because she didn't believe he was dead. She only kills love. In the afternoon breeze, she could still hear the sound of his flute. Many times, while looking at the other side, she dreamed of him taking off his shirt and jumping into the stream. The water is choppy and white foam splashes on the stream. But it was just reeds scattered on the water surface by the wind. She returned to the old night place, a fishy smell wafted up. The young man's body emitted yellow lines of water that clouds of flies landed on. His eyes were just two deep holes, crawling with parasites. She turned away, disgusted by the death of love. But as for that beautiful young man, he cannot die, because he is not in love. In the afternoon breeze, she could still hear the sound of his flute. That boy never came back, and she never stopped looking forward to it. One day, sitting and looking at the water, reminiscing about the past night, she suddenly listened. A quiet human voice poured into her ear, "No, you can kill me, not love." She trembled in fear. A light breeze passed by, the reeds tilted their heads to one side. She covered her ears and ran away so she wouldn't hear those strange words. She was terrified, imagining that love was still pursuing and harming her. She left her old place, left her grave and wandered. She looked for a place where she could no longer hear that earnest calling. She searched everywhere, and while searching, she noticed that her body had changed. Her lower abdomen is getting bigger every day. Someone told her she was pregnant. She shook her head in confusion, and didn't know what they were saying. She feels that every day, the virtues of her parents are becoming less and less, and it is not clear where those virtues will be shared. She was less agile, less cheerful like when she was a child, less strong than when she met the young man. One day, drinking water from the river, the clear water reflected her silhouette. She suddenly howled in surprise. She no longer had the gorgeous beauty she once had. The water quietly told her, sunken cheeks, dull eyes, pale lips. She covered her face and cried like a child. A few months later, one day, missing her parents, she returned to visit her old grave. Scene of desolation. She sadly remembered her parents' advice in the past. She hesitated whether to follow her parents' teachings. Then she asserted that there was, and that she would never be seduced by love. Moreover, she killed her love and avenged her parents. That night, she felt pain inside her body and could not bear it. She groaned and rolled around. Late at night, the moon was dim, just like the old night. She was thirsty, hugged her stomach and walked to the stream bank. After drinking, exhausted, she collapsed on the grass bank and then passed out. The next morning, a traveler passing by heard the sound of a child crying, so he pulled out a mop to look for him. On the grass, a pink baby had just been born, lying crying because he was thirsty for milk. Next to the child, a snake, its back dotted with red dots that looked like peach blossoms, lay in a circle. In the snake's belly, there was a long cut. The traveler was scared, took a blow and beat the animal to death, then quickly carried the baby away. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.